Today is Saturday, November 8th, 2025. I'm Michelle Susbury Hill along with my husband, Anthony Bernard Hill. Today we will be interviewing Mrs. Flora Toliver. We are here in person with her at her home in Houston, Texas. This interview is in cooperation with the Fayette County Historical Commission and part of an oral history collection that preserves the history of individuals, families, culture, and important events in Fayette County, Texas. Mrs. Toliver is also my cousin. We are descendants of the Rim family in Fayette County, so I'm very excited to start our conversation with her. How are you today, Mrs. Toliver?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
As we get started, just give us a little background about yourself. When and where were you born?
I was born in Hillsborough, Texas, which is Whitey County, and moved to LaGrange at the age of 5. My family was from there, but we was living there in Hillsborough for a while, and was raised in Fayette County.
Tell us about your parents or your family background.
My mother was a domestic. She worked the fields and
What was her name?
Ola May Homer, and cleaned house. My father was a truck driver,
And his name?
and his name was Floyd Homer. And they had 13 kids together. The oldest one was Jimmy, Aurel, Riley, Maxine, Geraldine, Edward, Cardell, Dorothy, myself, Flora, Linda, Emick, Ann, and Debbie.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, 13.
And what kind of chores did you do at home?
A little of everything. She taught me to cook. I think I had to be about the age of 8 or 9. I'll never forget my first cake was, she had me to bake that cake for my father because she didn't feel like baking. And it was a lemon cake because he loved lemon. And she started me out with that. And eventually I was cooking for the whole family.
Were there any special days, events, or family traditions you remember from your childhood?
Thanksgiving and Christmas. Christmas was very special in our household. That's when the older siblings would come home, and my mother would make sure that, she would bake and all day, Christmas Eve, and it was just a fun time. We would decorate the tree. It was a fun time. Yeah. And Thanksgiving, it was when all of the older siblings come home, and she would always make sure that she had plenty of food, and she would do that herself.
Okay. What was your school experience like?
Well, I went to school there at Hostyn until they integrated, and I think that was probably in 65, 66, somewhere along there. And we was bused to the school there in LaGrange, which was Old Randolph. That's where I went to school, there at Old Randolph in the high school. And when they integrated there, I think pretty much all of the kids that came from Hostyn was probably grouped and the classes pretty much together, the 7th and the 8th grade. And it was fun.
What was different in going to school at Hostyn versus going to school at the integrated school?
It was
Any
quite different because you had, you would say, you had white and black there together. And at Hostyn we only had 2 teachers, and that was my aunt, Aunt Lucille, and Miss Williams. And there you had an English teacher, you had a history teacher, and you had a homemaking teacher. So it was different. You learned a lot.
Okay. Do you remember any games that you played at school or at home? Any games during school time that,
Checkers.
like recess, what did you do?
Well, checkers at home, but not. I don't remember any games there at school. I mean, we participated in
recess?
track
Oh,
and basketball. I wasn't a basketball fan. I loved volleyball, so volleyball was my thing. And homemaking.
how did you get to school?
We was bused.
Okay.
We had a bus to come through the community and pick up all the kids and would bus you there and bus you back.
How long did it take about?
It didn't take very long because we was pretty much the last kids to get on the bus to go to school. But, you know, that bus had to go through Holman and Monprea and I think pretty much close to Amersville. So, yeah.
So you said you played checkers at home. Any other games you play at home?
Just kids game like hipscotch and stuff like that.
What music did you listen to?
A lot of soul music.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of soul music.
Any favorite stories from your childhood?
Not really.
No.
I
Okay.
can't remember of any.
Who were your best friends as a child?
My best friend, I had two, and that was Ethel and Darlene. From time to time, Darlene and I, we still talk. We was and her sister. I remember Mama letting us. They were the only one in the neighborhood that we could go and play. But you know, when you would go and play after you finish all your home tours, and at 6 o'clock you better be headed home. They didn't live very far from us, but it was far enough.
Okay. And then you went to high school. Were these the same friends in high school?
Yeah, through school.
Okay. And then what did you do after high school?
Well, I got married. I got married young, so we moved here, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. Tell me about your grandparents.
Well, I didn't know my grandmother on my mother's side. My grandmother, Luella, lived across the street.
What was her full name?
Luella Homer. And she lived across the street. I remember with her on Sunday morning, Sunday school, she would always be there at Sunday school, and she taught Sunday school on Sunday mornings. And we would walk to Sunday school and back home for 11 o'clock to eat, and then church, and you was in church pretty much all day on Sundays.
What was the name of the church?
Little Bethel Baptist Church.
That was in the Grange.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
It
still
was out
there?
in the country.
Is it still there?
Mm-hmm. Still there. They remodeled, I mean, they built a new one, but the old building is still
It's
there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how far back can you go with your ancestors?
Not very far. I can only remember what we was told by my auntie, and but not a whole lot.
Okay. Now, some of the things that you did in LaGrange, I remember there's a Cozy Corner there,
Mm-hmm.
and there were different places. I know there was something you mentioned about Arthur Dobbins.
Arthur Dobbins' place.
Can you
That
tell
was
me
the
about
place.
those two places?
Yeah, Cozy Corner was my mother's cafe, and but this was before Arthur Dobbins. It was after he had closed down, but Arthur Dobbins was the place to go. And then you had one that was James Zachary. It was just probably 2 blocks from the house. But Arthur Dobbins was the place that everybody would go. The whole community would gather there on a Saturday night. Some would come on a Friday night, but on a Saturday night is where you would take your family. And Saturday and Sunday. A lot of people would meet there after church on Sundays, but he had something for everybody. He had something for the teenagers, the young. He had something for the old. He had something for the older men. And it was just a beautiful place that you could go and on the outside of the cafe. If you didn't want to go inside the cafe, he had it set up. You had benches on the outside, and the window would raise up, and you can sit there. It was like a bar all the way around. So if you didn't want to go in, you could sit out there and the cool and drink your beer and whatever. And across the way from the cafe, he had a dance hall. This is where all the young people would go, to the dance hall. And if you wanted something to drink, you would go over there and get your soda or whatever. But it was just a nice place that the whole family could go and enjoy yourselves. And eventually, he had to close down. It wasn't because he wanted to. I think it was a situation. But it was something for the whole community. It seems like the community just kind of disappeared when that business disappeared. Like I said, everyone would meet there Saturday and Sunday. This is where you met and enjoyed each other's company, and with conversation and all. And a week would go by, and you would meet there the next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell me about Cozy Corner.
Cozy Corner, my mother and father always owned a cafe, even when he was at that young age, but it was burned to the ground. So after he passed away, and it was quite a while later, she opened Cozy Corner, and she ran Cozy Corner for quite a while.
Did
She
it
decided
sell
to close
food?
it down. She sold food and drinks.
Did people dance there too?
Mm-hmm. They danced there too. So
Was it just for adults, or
it was for everybody. It was for everybody.
because it was food there? They've been coming
The
back.
food. Some would come just for the food, just for the tripe sandwiches.
Tripe sandwiches.
Tripe sandwiches.
Okay.
What about Arthur Dobbins' place? What
Huh?
was his
And
place?
Arthur Dobbins' place, Kamami, would make the best sausage sandwiches. And she would sell tripe too. She worked in the kitchen. And you knew you were going to get some good food when Kamami was in that kitchen. And it was just a beautiful place because in the front of the building, there was a place that you can go in. And the older people seems like he had benches around and a fan. The bar was over here. You walk up to the bar and get your soda, whatever you want to get, and you go back outside. He had a flat with a jukebox that they could dance and just, have fun. But that part, the part that had the benches and all, was like for the elder people that you wanted to sit and just watch or whatever. And then you had this other part where if you wanted to sit on the outside, you had that bar back there that they can get their beer and just sit on the outside in the cool. It was just a nice place. A nice place. And he kept it together. Him and his wife kept it together.
Did they have any rodeos out there, anything like that?
Did
rodeos?
they have any what?
Like rodeos.
Yes.
Yeah.
On special events, he would have rodeos because he had a rodeo pen in the back. And people from all over would come, like on 4th of July. I think it was 4th of July and 19th of June, but it started 19th of June. It started at the Hostyn School. We would have this big community picnic. That's all the black people that lived on that end out to Amisville and all would meet there. Kanosi was the pillar of that community. He would get the men together and they would donate money. He would buy the meat. He would barbecue this meat all that night until the next morning. And the women's would bring all the desserts and the side dish and all, and they would set up this long tent along that Hostyn School on the outside. And Aunt Lucille let them open up the school that they could put the food in there, and those old people it was the best time. The best time. You had plenty of drinks, sodas, and stuff like that. Then it would spill over to St. James, Zachary. He had a cafe just across the way, walking distance from this school. And from there, people didn't stay there very long, because that evening, by evening, they was having a baseball game across from Arthur Dobbins. And Arthur Dobbins was having that rodeo. You remember the rodeos, Leroy? The rodeos. So that would go into late in the evening. And after that, they might would have a band, have a dance. They had a dance hall. They would have a band to come in and play. Or if they didn't have a band, it was just some place that you can go, because they had jukebox. Those jukebox on the wall. Y'all don't know anything about that. Those jukebox on the wall that yeah. And this, back then, seemed like it was a big place to me. This long hall that for everybody.
So now, looking back, how has LaGrange changed versus the fun you remember then?
A whole lot. I don't hardly recognize it. I don't hardly recognize it. Not any of that stuff is there, and it's just all you have is just memories. You know, the businesses are gone. All the old folks is gone, and this young generation don't seem to care.
How has technology changed versus as you remember when you were growing up and now?
Tremendously. Technologies have taken over the young people and their mind. I mean, when you see them, they have this in their hand, they're walking, not paying attention to where they're walking. You know, it's in their hand at all times. They're on the, instead of doing something else, they're on playing games and stuff. It has just, it's gone.
What has given you the most satisfaction in life?
What has given me the most satisfaction in life? To me, it's remembering where I came from. That helps me, gives me satisfaction just to know those memories are there, and they're good memories. Memories that you won't ever have again.
Okay, tell me a little bit about your husband and where you met and got married and all of that.
I met him.
And his name?
His name is Leroy Toliver, and I met him in LaGrange. They used to come to LaGrange all the time, and that's where I met him, in LaGrange. And he was in high school playing football. I went to one of his games, and I met him there. They used to come up there every weekend to LaGrange. And we got married in '68. So we've been married all the time. And we have one son, Stephen Toliver. He's a principal out in Somerville. And I have 2 granddaughters.
Okay. What advice would you give to young couples today?
Nothing is easy. Marriage is not easy. But with God in the middle, it's going to be fine when you put Him first. And you might have to give 75%, He give the rest. He gives 75%, and you give the rest. but you can make it work. Nothing is easy. So many young people, if it don't go that way, they want everything here and now. It takes time. You got to work at it. When Leroy and I moved to Houston, we lived in this place for what, 50-some years, but nothing is easy. This, what you see, it was nothing like what we moved into, but it was working together, and you can't, at the sign of trouble, you can't pick up and run. Young people don't want to, they want it all right now, and when it don't go their way or it seems hard, they want to call it quits. And you know, if you don't stick it out, because it's going to be the same wherever you go. You start over, you're going to meet it's going to be the same thing. So my suggestion to them is to put God first and get in there and do the work.
And what lessons has life taught you?
It has taught me quite a few. To be patient and don't give up, and to work hard if you want to get somewhere.
You know, like, getting back to LaGrange, like when you were growing up there as a young girl, growing up in LaGrange, just to give a little picture of what LaGrange was like, what kind of stores did you go to shop in? What kind of little places
Well,
did you go?
you don't want me to go there.
Yeah.
I remember growing up as a young lady, young child in LaGrange. I remember having to go to the courthouse, having to go to the basement to get a drink of water and use the bathroom. I remember coming up where it said white only. Blacks, you go to the basement, you get your water fountain down there. Now where it has changed, and Holman was the same. I remember us pulling that man's cotton, breaking for lunch. You had a little 8x10 room on the back. You couldn't go through the front. You would go and you spend your money there with this man. I want to say with this man and his store. But you couldn't go through the front. You go through the back. You got your food, and if you wanted, you had to sit back there. I remember the market. Was it Calza Market in LaGrange on the square?
I don't know, forget.
I remember having to go through the back door to order your barbecue, your food, I mean, whatever you was going to eat. They had a section in the back that blacks had to sit, white on the other side. Those are the things that I remember. I remember on the town square, there was a little cafe. The blacks had a little small room, a bench on each side, room enough to walk to the counter and get your beer or whatever. You had to sit in that bench. That cafe, it's not there anymore, but the building is still there. On the other side was a cafe where the whites would go in. You could sit down, you can drink your beer and eat whatever you wanted to do. Those are the things that I remember in LaGrange. It has changed now because they're no longer there. The market has closed down. And eventually, I think when they integrated everything, you can start going through the front door. But those are the things that I remember. You could spend your money, but you couldn't go through that front door. They didn't mind taking your money. So, some years back, they closed, well, they remodeled the courthouse. And I wanted to show, our friends. So we walked in, and I was really surprised because they had made a courtyard. They had removed that water fountain where it said white, and so we thought, okay, let's go down to the basement. We took the elevator down. Where before, back in the day, they didn't have an elevator. You had steps, and it was under renovation. That was gone. So it has changed. But those are the things that I remember. I remember the little jailhouse that sits out from the big jailhouse there. I think they have a new one now downtown. It's the museum now. That little booth that sits out there, that little building that sits out there away from that museum was for the blacks only. I remember sitting in that back parking lot, and it was, it would be cold, but it didn't have windows. It had bars. It didn't have windows. So on a Saturday night, if you went to jail, that's where you were going to be. And you didn't go into that white jail. The museum now shows, I think it has the bars and stuff in there. I don't know the museum. We went there once, and I think they had the bars. I mean, not the bars, the sales inside the museum. Is it still there? But that was for the white. They put the white in there, and the blacks was out there in that little thing. The building is still there. Those are things I remember.
You couldn't go to the movies together.
Huh?
Which white and black was separated from the movies when you went to the
Oh
movies.
yeah, at the movies. The movies too. You had to go upstairs. You couldn't go downstairs. That was in LaGrange and also in Columbus, in Wyman. Those are the things that I remember. Growing up as a child. And it didn't start changing until they integrated. Slowly it started changing. That's what we had to grow up with.
Now, a lot of times I look at communities like that. What was the black community like?
The black community was more together. They were more together. Here now, since all of this, we're not. But the black community was together. And it was like they cared about each other. Now it's just whatever.
Now, what side of town would you call the black community in LaGrange?
Well, no, I don't. In LaGrange, around, it's not like that anymore, but around Pearl Street and Franklin Street in LaGrange, Pearl Street, what did they call that up on the hill? And the black community there in the country.
Okay.
It was a lot of
Hostyn.
They call it Hostyn. Hostyn was majority all black.
And they
All
was
black.
family at that time.
Huh?
I said they was family at that time.
We were family.
Big
We
family.
were whole family. And you asked me, what did I miss and what? That's what I miss. It's not the same anymore because we're not family. We're not. Back in the day, we was family.
Now, I look at that, and I look at the values that we as black people had, especially during the times when we were being oppressed. And I look at the faith community, education, and work ethic. And how did you see that within the black community?
I saw that, but I don't see work ethics anymore. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work.
That's gone.
I
said that's gone.
Yeah, that's gone. You're looking for something free. You don't want to work. This has taken over them, if you can pay for a phone, you can get out there and get on the job and work. But the work ethics has gone. And I always say you start them out young. My mother started us out young, working. If you went in the cotton field, we was working there at home. She was teaching us how to survive. You got to teach them to work. If you work, you can survive. But if you don't work, you're not going to. And that has gone. That is gone. The the community that I grew up in, all of them worked. They worked. You was doing something. And as you got older, you realized that you had to work. But no, that's gone. That is gone. That community, I don't think we'll ever see again.
Yeah. Because I see that as a legacy that our ancestors built. But
We're losing it.
the descendants and the families that followed on.
Yeah, we're losing that
keep it
legacy. Because what they have built and taught us to work to survive, and the Bible said if you don't work, you don't eat. We're losing it. We have lost it. And I see so many young people now walking the street with their clothes, their pants hanging off the... What as we as parents are teaching these kids? You're not teaching them anything. I mean, you have the phone in your hand. You know, it's gone.
And that's across the whole culture, across the country.
Oh, we done lost quite a few generations.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we'll ever get it back.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk, but I don't think they're even listening anymore. They're not.
Yeah. I think that during the times that our ancestors went through difficult times and persevered and met those challenges and made it better for these young people to be able to do that, but they take it for granted, I believe, as a privilege.
You know, I was talking to a young man. He's 30. He's 39, 36, 39. And he said he don't vote. And I'm saying, you baby. I said, but do you know what they fought for? Martin Luther King them fought. And your great-grandmother couldn't vote. And you say you're not going to vote because you don't like the... They fought for you to vote. And you've given away that privilege to do so. This is what we're up against. Mm-hmm. And you have the nerve to complain. I don't get it. I don't get it. You got to exercise. I mean, they fought for this. They fought for you to be able to do so. Mm-hmm. People died that you can be able to vote to do so, and you won't.
Right.
Because you said it really don't matter.
Yeah. Because they were born at a time when they didn't have to go through that to get that. So,
well. Yeah. That's just it, because they didn't have to go to it. They don't appreciate.
They don't value it. Right.
They don't appreciate what their ancestors and their great-grandparents did. They don't appreciate what they did. But you have to complain.
I mean, it's good that integration came, because by integration came they give black kids a chance to get a better education. But when this integration came in effect, that's when the black people lost it.
They lost their, yeah.
They lost it.
That family.
Because they want to live like the white man, the one able.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of them tried, and that's why so many of them made mistakes. And that's what we see now.
They got away from that teaching, I mean, that family-oriented that we had coming up as kids. You know, the community that I grew up in, if you did something, your mom and daddy didn't have to. It was Monday morning, you can cool believe they knew, and you were going to get it. And you're going to be chastised by them. You can't do that anymore. You can't. You know, we had an Aunt Martha. And Aunt Martha was the neighborhood mother. She was, because Mama didn't have to go, Daddy wasn't there. But we knew she was going to be there, and we knew that she was watching. And if we did anything wrong, Monday morning, early, here she come down the street. It's here come Aunt Martha. We knew we was in trouble, because she was going to tell. So you didn't have to worry about that. And we knew that we were going to be chastised for it. That's gone. You can't say anything to the kids anymore. If they don't, that's gone. It's a lot. The family value has been lost. It's been lost. We don't, and respecting your elders. I came up in a generation, you didn't walk in the room and didn't speak. You made sure you spoke. And you said yes ma'am and no ma'am. You don't see that anymore. It was so fun because this is the way we brought our son up. And he was 6th grade, and I drive school bus, and I picked him up early because it was early dismissal, and I had 4 teachers on board with me. And but when he was in 2nd grade, he came home and I was talking to him, and he said yes, no. I said, what did you say? He said yes. He said yes. I said, you don't say yes. You said yes ma'am. He said, well, Mama, my teacher don't want me to say yes ma'am to her. So I had to go to the school, and I told her, I said, we're teaching our son to be respectful. I said, I know you don't want him to say yes ma'am to you. She said, well, none of the kids do. I said, but we're teaching him to say yes and no. That's respect. And so he was on the bus, and this teacher was talking to him, and they was overwhelmed because it was yes ma'am and no ma'am and yes sir, no sir. They said, where did you get this kid from? We don't hear that. But you have to teach them. That is gone. That's gone.
Yeah, and you don't see any way of it coming back to.
No, it's not.
Because we lost it. Because I know in my generation I was taught that, and that was in the 60s up to the 70s. So somewhere in between there and now.
Oh, it's lost. You don't say yes. It's yes ma'am and no ma'am, no sir and no. That's gone. That's lost. That's and I think too because
when I moved to Chicago, nobody said it.
Nobody says yes.
Right. Nobody said it when I was growing up because I moved from Columbus to Chicago, and that was not said at all anywhere.
To me, that's teaching a child respect, and I don't know.
The South is different from the North. I'll say.
Because I have good friends who were white from Alabama, when I was in the military. They're good friends, and all his children today, they were just young children today. They're like in their 20s now. They grew up to say yes ma'am, yes, no sir, yes ma'am.
This is from where?
He was from Alabama.
Yeah.
So he's from a white guy from the South, his white family. So it was like more of a Southern thing.
So you say it's a Southern thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to be taught everywhere because it teaches a child respect.
Mm-hmm.
If they next they be calling you by your first name. Really?
I'll call you a name.
Yeah, I'll call you names. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From where I came from, it has really, really, really changed. The generation we have lost at least 5 generations, and we're losing them.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing like, we won't ever get that back.
Now in school, like the early schools, when it was the all-black school, what was the control of the classroom? They call it discipline.
My auntie taught
like?
me, so you could imagine what it was like. Aunt Lucille, she was the teacher and the principal. They only had 2. Miss Effie was through the 6th grade, and Aunt Lucille was through the 8th, and then they integrated. But it was the saddest part that when they integrated those schools, those black teachers that had gone to college, they all had to go back to school because that white man didn't want them teaching their kids because they didn't feel like they was qualified. And Aunt Lucille was a darn good teacher. So they had to go back to school or either quit. Aunt Lucille retired.
'Cause I remember a lot of black teachers during that time. They had their masters from college.
I remember a couple of Miss, oh, what is it? What was her name? She was a PE teacher. She stayed. Miss Vaughn Minton, she was white. Miss O.C., I think her name was O.C. It seems like she was the only black teacher there at Randolph at the time. I can't think of now. Miss Crosby and Mr. Crosby, they was at the high school, and he was an ag teacher, and she was, I think she might have been an English teacher, a history teacher. But the rest of those teachers, when they integrated, they had to go back to school and get recertified or get some kind of, sad thing.
I remember who was there was a black principal was it Randolph? You mentioned that name, O.C.?
She was Odom. She was a PE teacher, but the black principal was Hatch.
Ah, yeah.
Hatch.
Yes.
Mr. Hatch. He was the black principal.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept him on, I think he was at the, he wasn't at the, Mr. Coyne was our principal at the junior high, and Mr. Hatch was at the high school for a while. Yeah.
At the high school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's they got them all out. They did.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a handful left. They had to go back to school, so a lot of them just decided to retire.
And today we see, well, there's a Dobbins, this young kid who plays in the NFL.
That's my
Mr.
nephew.
J.K. Dobbins.
That's my nephew.
Watched him playing with the Denver Broncos last night.
Uh-huh.
And that's your nephew.
That's my nephew. Yeah. That's Maya's, my niece's son. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She was the one that started this, and after we was in high school, and she was following him all over the place, and he went to college, and she was following him all over the place, and so she stopped. Yeah, that was my nephew, J.K. Dobbins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his daddy was a good football player too. He was, but he died, and he carried it on.
Yeah.
So that means that's my cousin too.
That's your cousin too.
Mm-hmm. That's your cousin too. That's your cousins too.
Okay, so is there anything else that you could think of that you'd like to share with us?
Shouted Bobby, they did pretty
Yeah, but
good on that
they
last
wasn't her cousin.
year.
Okay.
Okay.
That was on Daddy's side.
Well,
That was on Daddy's
all
side.
right.
Yeah, only JK.
Oh, but who are those folks?
Huh?
They from LaGrange as well?
Yeah, they're from regret. That's
Oh.
those two was my daddy nephew.
Okay, who was that?
Johnny Johnson and
I heard those names.
Johnny Johnson and
With the Los
Johnny
Angeles
what is your name? Johnny Johnson and
he played with the 49ers.
Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
Rams.
Bobby played with the Orleans Saints.
Okay.
Yeah, Bobby just lost it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bobby, they both played. They played.
Yeah.
They did. Those kids, they did well.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's JK.
Yeah.
That's his mama was at she was at the reunion. Maya. Yeah, she was there with the little girl. She had two. He was born here.
Yeah.
And I said anything else I can think of. But it was so funny because those memories keeps you going, and they makes you you what's the word I'm looking for? It keeps you grounded because you realize where you came from, where you are. And back then when I said we was a community, Miss Effie was from Brenham, but it wasn't nothing for her to walk across that street. She lived just across the street in that cul-de-sac. I mean, not a cul-de-sac. It was Which go to it. Anyway, she lived just across, and it was nothing for her to walk over there and eat a meal with us. You know, she was always invited to supper. So she would come over there and she would eat a meal. But that's the kind of community that I grew up in. As, you know, everybody looked out for everybody. If they killed a hog, pretty much everybody in the neighborhood would get a piece of that meat.
Yeah, didn't y'all donate that graveyard over across?
Yeah, my mom and daddy, they brought that property and they donated that cemetery across Little Bethel Cemetery.
Property.
Huh?
Across from y'all property?
Yeah, they donated that to the church. Yeah. Their property went all the way back to that road, but they donated that part because the county came through the road. So they donated that part to the cemetery. That's how they got that cemetery.
Yeah, which cemetery was it?
Huh?
Which cemetery?
It's on Cozy Corner. It's Little Bethel Cemetery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, up there. Yeah.
They have two, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's right across from my
Okay.
mother and father property.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else y'all want to ask me?
Well,
I
for now.
think that's it for
That's it.
now. We think
Well,
it's
for
something
now, I
else
just
we'll
want to
be-
thank you for giving your time and sharing with us a
Okay.
little bit about your family history and times in Fayette County, LaGrange. And I also thank Mr. Leroy for being here, your husband, for supporting us. And
Get a
Add
picture
Lou.
of him so we can put it in there. Look
thank you very much. Hmm?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
If I think of anything else, I would let y'all know. It's a whole lot, but I really do think that Connaught the place needs to be recognized
Did you stop?
because, you know, it's a place where all the blacks came together as a family.
Mm-hmm.
They came together as a family. You know, you met there, and it was so funny because this man, he didn't know how to read or write, and that's why I think he got messed out of his property. But it would start like in May when we would get out of school. He would have a carnival to come out for the summer. So the young kids that, even adults, we had a place to go. He would have them to set up. They were from Cozy Corner, and they would come out every summer, and they would stay until everybody go back to school, late September, and go back. But you could go. These are the fun memories. You said the fun memories. These are the fun memories that you could go to a movie under a tent and eat popcorn, buy popcorn. I think it was, 5 cents a bag or 10 cents a bag, and ice. Yeah, you had some place to go on a Sunday, a Saturday, and on a Wednesday night, and the weekend. He brought that to the black neighborhood. So all of the kids, and a lot of kids grew up. That neighborhood, that community had a lot of kids. So we met there on a Friday, Saturday night. A Saturday night, wasn't too many on Friday night because you know it was school, but on Saturday night, Sunday night, you had some place to go. And on Wednesday night, it was like the show was half price or whatever. You didn't have to go over there and sit up in the balcony at that show. You had a place right out there. And then he had a live show where it was a carnival, but you know, you was live entertainment. He had that for the black neighborhood. He did. He had that. And the rodeos and all, people would come from all around just to participate in the rodeos. Yeah. But he got messed out of it. So no.
Mr. Leroy right here. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And we appreciate your time.
All right, no problem. Appreciate it.
Thank you.